My name is Bert, and this is the Still Life Podcast. Welcome back to another episode of the Still Life Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Bert. It is Tuesday, October 5th, 2021, and what's been on my mind is people. And not just people, but more specifically, how do we determine one's value in society and in our own mind? Is it a person's net worth? Is it the college degrees, workforce experience, job title, how they treat other people? What is it that we use to determine value in other people? For a lot of the world, I believe net worth and the number of college degrees and letters they have following their name determines someone's worth. But make no mistake about it, I know people with no letters behind their name and very little net worth that are extremely valuable people to me, and I believe should be valuable to others as well. Part of these thoughts stem from interviews and applying for jobs. I'm not deemed worthy to work a certain job because I don't have a college degree. Despite 2.5 years of technical school focused on brewing and fermentation science, most places don't care because it's not an accredited university. But if I did go to college and get a 4-year degree, they wouldn't care if it was in business administration, liberal arts, education, philosophy, psychology, or sports management, just as long as I have that 4-year degree. I'm worthy and worth the investment of their time. Despite the fact that I'm a combat veteran with an enormous amount of experience in high-stress situations, regardless of the fact that I have over 20 years in the workforce as a professional, my career has spanned many industries, and I've learned a great many things. I'm a coach, teacher, instructor, mentor, encourager, manager, leader. But most places will never see that because I don't have a college degree. Now, when you base someone's qualifications or their worth on whether or not they have a college degree, you lose sight of the actual value the person has. There's so many people out there with lots of college degrees, and they're not bright people. They're not smart people. And vice versa. There's plenty of people that have never set foot inside of a college or university that are some of the most brilliant and thoughtful people the world will ever know. So how did we get here? And how do we change that perception of worth in the job market, in our personal and professional lives, on how we view ourselves and how we view others? First and foremost, like any major change, it starts with us. Changing our own mindset, changing how we view other people. Some of the most profound things I've ever learned came from people that have never been to college. Imagine that. And I value their opinions over a lot of people that have been to college. Crazy how that works. You see, once you become a professional and once you immerse yourself into the real world, you quickly begin to realize that studying things out of books and having all the answers doesn't really do a lot of good in the real world. Because you're never going to have all the answers. There's a lot of I don't knows and I'm not sures. There's not a textbook for the professional world. as vast as it is, there's not an instruction manual. A lot of it you have to figure out as you go. But one of the things I learned in brewing school, one of the most valuable lessons, was that we didn't have to have all of the answers. We just needed to have a network of people that we could go to, resources that we could seek out for help to find the right answer. I mean, isn't that what it's really all about when it comes down to it? Not that we can get through this on our own, because I assure you we can't. But surrounding yourself with other people that have different experiences. They know what you don't, and you know what they don't. A lot of times, you guys know the same thing, and that's okay too. A lot of times, you don't know the same things, and that's okay as well. But continuing to learn and grow should increase your value. And when it comes down to net worth, I'll put it this way. For me, personally, I'd rather be broke and happy than rich and miserable any day. Mo money, mo problems is real. And I've heard it so many times from people that have wealth. The more money you have, the faster it seems to go, and the more problems that come with it. Not to say I wouldn't like to have a fat bank account. We all would. But I'd like to be comfortable. I'd be okay having enough to live on, maybe a little extra to have some fun with. I don't need to make millions of dollars. It's not necessary for me. I mean, there's days I would be happy moving to the middle of nowhere and living in a tiny house all by myself, not having to really worry about the day and where my next meal will come from, or all these bills going to get paid on time. I'd just be able to enjoy each day, day in and day out, with minimal worry. But then there's days where I want a huge house, and not just one, several, in different locations that I can go to as I please. One of those requires a lot of money, and one of them not nearly as much. But at different points in my life, both of those ideas bring me joy. We're taught to chase the paycheck, the big payday, be money motivated. Money, 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 money. It will solve all your problems. Listen, money can buy you temporary happiness. But if it's permanent happiness you seek, you'll never find it on the back of a debit card, in a checkbook, or at the ATM. Not long term. Temporary, of course. Absolutely, without question. But permanent happiness, that comes from within. And that's one thing that money will never be able to afford. For me, one of the ways I determine value, of course, is how I'm treated. If you treat me well, you have value to me. If you treat me poorly, more often than not, you have little to no value to me. The other side of that is knowledge. They say knowledge is power. But honestly, shared knowledge is more power. Don't be afraid to share with people what you know to help other people. I've had so many people help me and share their knowledge with me that they have a great value to me, even though I may not speak to them anymore or haven't in a long time. These people still hold value in my life because, number one, they treated me well, but number two, they shared their knowledge with me, and I became better because of it. So really, when it comes to value, money has nothing to do with it. Treat people better. Share what you know. Help other people. That's when you become a true asset to those around you. And with that, I'd like to thank you for joining me today on the Still Life Podcast. For questions, comments, topic ideas, or suggestions, you can reach us, thestilllifepodcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at The Still Life Podcast, and Twitter at Still Life Pod. Thanks again for joining me today on The Still Life Podcast. We'll talk again soon.